All right, so this is the last type of statement that we are going to talk about in this section. And it can only be written when the conditional and its converse are both true. And if the conditional and its converse are both true, you're going to be able to write them as a single biconditional statement. So an example of two statements, the conditional and its converse, that are both true. So this conditional statement is true. If an angle is a straight angle, then it measures 180 degrees. So the converse of this statement is also true. So you would say, if an angle measures 180 degrees, then it is a straight angle. So the conditional statement and its converse are both true statements. So when this happens, you can combine them as a biconditional statement. So a biconditional statement is a statement that contains the phrase if and only if. And the symbol looks like this. P, now you're going to see a double arrow, which means if and only if, Q. So you'll be able to combine a conditional and its converse with a biconditional statement. So it would sound like this. An angle is a straight angle if and only if it measures 180 degrees. So if both the conditional and its converse are true, you can combine them as a biconditional, and it would contain the phrase if and only if. But I can't stress this enough. You can only do biconditional if both conditional and its converse are true. If they're not both true, you are not going to be able to write a biconditional statement. All right? So making sure that you folded this the same way that you folded page 11, where you can still see the title of this section, because all three of these pages are all section 2.1. So now we're going to write a biconditional statement. So it says, write the definition of opposite rays as a biconditional. So it says, if two rays are collinear and have the same endpoint, then they are opposite rays. So you're going to write this as a biconditional. So you're going to just use the words if and only if. You're not using the words if, then. It's if and only if for biconditional. So what you're going to do is identify the hypothesis of the definition, identify the conclusion of the definition, and you're going to write them as one statement, but instead of the words if and then, you're basically getting rid of those words if then. You are going to put the words if and only if in the middle. So you're going to say two rays are collinear and have the same endpoint if and only if they are opposite rays. So again, you're going to identify the hypothesis and conclusion. You're going to get rid of the words if and then, and you're going to combine the hypothesis and conclusion with the words if and only if. And that's how you can create a biconditional statement. Okay, last example. So now we're going to write the definition of congruent segments as a biconditional. If two segments are congruent, then they have the same length. So again, identify your hypothesis and conclusion. You are going to get rid of the words if and then, and you're going to put the words if and only if in between the hypothesis and conclusion. So you would say two segments are congruent if and only if they have the same length. So again, get rid of the words if and then and combine the hypothesis and conclusion with the with the phrase if and only if. So now that you have those 2 pages filled out, you are to glue them into your notebook. So we just filled out page 11, which we already labeled. Then we have page 12, which was the conditional, converse, inverse, and contrapositive statements. And then page 13 was biconditional statements. So this is what you're going to practice for homework. You have a practice worksheet. You're only doing the problems that I circled. So it's problems 3, 6, 11, 12, and 13. And that's just because this has a lot of writing. So number 3, you're just going to write the definition of an obtuse angle in if-then form. So that's basically what we did on page 11 in your notes. Okay, you're just taking a statement and you're going to write it in if-then form. So that's number 3. Number 6, you're going to take a conditional statement and you're going to have to write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. So that's just like page 12 where we did 3 examples and we wrote all of the statements based off of the conditional. So number 6 has a lot of writing because you have to do 3 statements for it. And then 11, 12, and 13, you're going to write the converse of the conditional statement and decide whether they are true or false. Now remember, if both the conditional and its converse are true, then you're going to write the biconditional statement. If they're not both true, then you're not going to write the biconditional statement. All right, so make sure you're doing this on a separate sheet of paper because there is most likely not enough room for you to squeeze everything in unless you're writing really, really tiny.